Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Turning Point Podcast, episode number 19. I'm one of your hosts, Lara, and I am joined here once again by Lewin. How are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing good.
That's good. I was just having a sip of coffee there.
You're so aggressive on the coffee this morning.
Look, I'm trying to drink it quickly, alright? But this episode, we got a guest in. And it's my friend Lucca, who is also known as is it Ockley? Ockley is how you say that, right?
Yeah, that is I.
That's your Twitch name, right?
It's Ockley _live on Twitch.
Okay, because I just looked at your Discord and I was just like, yeah, probably should have prepared this before we started, but that's all right. We'll just go with it for now.
I'm planning on changing my name on Twitch when it becomes available in 2 months, so it will just be Ockley on Twitch.
Fair enough. But how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Thank you for joining us. You've old film school friend. We've known each other for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And you're working on some art for us, which will be revealed soon when it's ready.
That's right.
But basically as part of the deal, Lewin, I was like, look, you do some art for us and then we'll get you on an episode of the podcast. We got to give this person a bit of exposure to his Twitch channel.
Get that clout.
Exactly. That was the kind of deal that happened there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so today, this episode, we're going to be talking about the biggest, I guess, streaming thing to happen this year, I guess. The most talked about thing, I guess, besides the Marvel stuff, and that is Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Snyder Cut that what do we call the Zack Snyder DCEU fans? What do we call them? The Snyder bots? The Snyder bots have been threatening us with the Snyder Cut for years, and it's finally here.
Snyder bots, I like that.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about it. How do we feel about that, boys?
I have the feeling this is going to be a little bit of a controversial episode.
That's what we want, though.
Yeah. So long as you're not pulling the hot takes like Lara did in the Last of Us episode. What do you mean?
Weren't
hot takes at all.
My hot takes for The Last of Us Part 2 were... Well, God, I can't remember what I said in the episode. Like, I know what my opinion is on it now, but what did I say in the episode? I said something like... I mean, I definitely remember saying that Ellie's half of the game is shit.
Okay.
And I probably said some other things. They weren't very hot takes. Like, they were just me being like, it's kind of just... Like, now I think The Last of Us Part 2 is just a boring game. But,
right.
I don't think it's a bad game. I just think it's it's just boring.
Okay.
And Ellie's
no
half
spoilers,
of the game...
by the way. I haven't played it yet.
That's okay. At least half of the game is the reason why I think it's boring. But, I don't know. I can't remember what the hot take was, but there'll be some hot takes. I have most of my hot takes end up on Twitter. So,
Right. I mean, that's the best place for hot takes, honestly.
Oh, Jesus
It's why
Christ.
Twitter was made.
There was some drama in the Tomb Raider community again the other day for some reason, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this all about? And then there was like a meme that all the reboot Tomb Raider fans were being sent to jail or something. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, what the fuck is happening anyway?
What does the world come to?
All I'm saying is Tomb Raider Twitter is just fucking garbage. That's what I'm saying.
But is it like the meme garbage or is it just straight up garbage?
Oh no, it's just constant drama over just nothing.
Right.
And Lewin, you'll be very happy.
Hi there.
I finally done it.
What have you done?
I have set up the podcast on Google Podcasts and also Apple Podcasts.
We're going everywhere again.
After like three episodes of saying that I was going to do it, I've finally done it. So you can now listen to... so the links are in the description below, so you can now listen to this podcast on both Google and Apple as well. So you've got Spotify, you've got Google, you've got Apple, all your podcast platforms. I know it's not all of them, but it's like the three main ones, right? Like, I feel like I don't think there's any other main ones. I know Amazon has podcasts.
Yeah, fuck that.
Put it on Amazon Podcasts. But yeah, it's all there. So whichever podcast platform of your choice do you like to listen to, it's now available. All the previous episodes, all previous 17 episodes are there, and all future episodes will be there as well. And like always, all the episodes of this show go up on podcast platforms first, simply because I'm too lazy to edit the video podcast at the same time. So it all goes up on podcast platforms first, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you're getting it like a week later. So what are you fucking doing? Head to the links in the description below and get them straight away. I think that was a bit more smoother than...
That was the smoothest you've ever gone into that.
Anyway,
who's the sponsor for today's episode?
Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh,
hell yes.
I thought they cancelled us.
They did, but I sweet talked them into it. I don't know if you ever listened to the episode. I can't remember what episode it was in, Lucca, but we once did a review. I did a review of Raid Shadow Legends, like a legit review as a meme. Yeah. Because like it was around the time where like there was a big massive push for Raid Shadow Legends. Like literally every single YouTuber and their fucking dog was promoting that game.
Yep.
So I was like, let's actually, I'm going to play it. So I played it for like ages, and then I did like a legit Raid Shadow Legends review on the podcast.
Fantastic.
I can't remember what episode it was in, but
it was one of the early ones, like the
it was like really early on.
That's great.
Yeah. It was like back before we had like a proper like logo and like proper intro and things like that. But yeah, that was some good old days. But yeah, we're also sponsored by the Ridge Wallet. So
beautiful.
Yeah, and Dollar Shave Club.
Oh, okay.
We're going Dollar Shave Club and Manscaped.
Okay.
Might as well go both.
Both of them, even though they're competitors.
And let's just chuck AFK Arena in there for good measure, right?
Yeah, just for good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, and
4 sponsors, 1 video.
Yeah, and we're also sponsored by HBO Max, which is why we're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
We wouldn't be doing it otherwise. It's only because they're paying us. They're not paying us. Don't sue us.
Yeah, they're paying us, and also Binge is also paying us as well. So we're getting all the bases covered this episode. We're going to get a nice sweet paycheck.
Grand.
But let's get into the episode. Enough fucking around. So I'm going to hand this over to you, Lucca. Start off because you're the guest. What have you been up to? This is our famous catch-up segment.
Okay.
What have you been up to lately? What have you been playing, watching, streaming, doing, whatever?
So, where to start? Well, in terms of stuff that I've been watching, I was like really late to the whole like I guess sitcom scene. I didn't really watch sitcoms like growing up or anything. So I've been exploring a lot of new sitcoms, and I recently finished The Office for the first time.
Holy shit. Okay, so
yeah.
Okay, so that was on my list to talk about as well. So let's just fucking talk about it.
No way.
And I finished watching my second rewatch a month ago.
Yeah, and I literally just finished watching season 9 like last week.
That's crazy.
All right, well, let's talk about the fucking Office then.
Fuck yes.
So we'll come back to what else you've been doing, but let's talk about The Office.
That's way less important.
Yeah. So I watched all 9 seasons of The Office in a very, very short amount of time.
Beautiful.
Because I was like really sick for a week, so I smashed through like 3 seasons in one day.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was crazy. And anyway, I've really enjoyed my time with that show. I remember because I talked about it with, I think I talked about it in the last episode, Lewin. I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah.
But at that point, I'd only watched like
before the episode where you talked about it.
Yeah, but like that episode, I'd only watched like season 1 and like part of season 2. So I hadn't watched it fully, and I remember saying in that episode that like I absolutely hate Michael Scott's character. And I remember saying that because like I get that's the point, but it was also like season 1 Michael Scott I was talking about, where it's like Michael Scott's actually kind of a piece of shit.
I mean, he hasn't like had time to grow on you yet.
Yeah, but then in kind of season 2, they changed the direction for his character, and they started writing him a bit differently. And I can say, like, Michael Scott, what a great fucking character.
Amazing.
And what great, like, what like, I love that, like, all the comedy surrounding his character is just purely just making fun of, like, how ignorant he is.
Yeah, just how delusional he is.
Yeah, how delusional and ignorant he is.
Yeah.
And I just love that character so much. And like, when he leaves in season 7, you feel like he's gone on an entire arc.
Yeah.
You know, you feel like he's really, like, his character is a really great example of character development.
Oh, 100%.
Because even, like, I mean, let's forget about season 1 Michael for a second. Even season 2 Michael, the difference between season 2 Michael and season 7 Michael is insane. Like, they're almost completely different characters, almost. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Those last, like, few Michael episodes, I was genuinely sad, especially the Dundies episode, the final Dundies episode.
It's so sad.
Oh my god! Like, right at the end where they were, like, singing the song in the conference room,
man.
I was like, "Oh, Michael." But yeah, I don't know. What did you guys think of Michael in the end?
I agree on his character arc. I like that he had a character arc. And they didn't compromise his character to do a complete 180. By season 7, he's a marginally different character, but he's still Michael Scott.
Yeah, he's still very much like this. Like, in season 1, he was kind of a piece of shit.
And that's because he was a stand-in for Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, like, they were really trying to, like he was kind of a racist, and you know, like, it was as the kids say today, he would have been incredibly problematic.
Yes.
But, like, season 2, they kept a lot of the same character traits, but they started making him his own character, and then it just kind of developed, and he keeps getting himself into these awkward situations. The most uncomfortable thing I watched with Michael Scott was the episode with the school kids.
Oh god.
Has it really been
that
10
one was
years?
so hard to watch.
Oh my god, like, that was the most uncomfortable thing
So
I've ever had to
brutal.
sit through.
Yeah.
Because he's just like putting it off and putting it off.
Oh man.
And he's standing up in front of them and just putting off saying it, and then he finally says it. And I was just like, fucking hell. And then what makes it even worse is his decision to substitute with laptop batteries. I'm like, how is that a substitute? Like,
but, like,
yeah.
at the same time, you kind of are, like, a little bit, like, in admiration that he actually just fucking copped it so hard like that, you know? Like,
because I feel like season 2 Michael Scott would have, like, tried some kind of, like, scheme or some kind of, like, tried to make an excuse out of it.
Yeah,
Like, that's what I mean. Like, it shows his character development.
he just straight up faced it head on, you know?
Yeah, it took him
as
a
long
little
as
bit.
as long as it took him, like, he still just got through it, you know?
I kind of felt bad for him too, in the sense, he
No,
put
truly.
himself in that situation, but he has that brief moment where he's like, I thought I'd be a millionaire by this point, and, you know, he actually looks at his life, and he's like, well, fuck.
I think what works so well with, like, his character is that, you know, obviously he starts off in the show as, like, yes, okay, here's this outlandish, you know, character who's so ignorant and, like, just really funny, right? And that was it, you know, on a surface level. But then, like, through the show, you slowly find out why he's like that, and you learn, like, you know, the humanity behind it, and you actually, that's why you feel for him. You know?
I also really love the biggest part of his development is his relationship with Jan, and I love the moments in, like, I can't remember if it was, like, season 6 or 7, when he realizes that, or even might be even season 5. Fuck, I can't remember now. But like I said, I watched all these seasons very close together. They kind of just all blended into one. But it's when he realizes that his relationship with Jan and his, like, obsession with that is a really toxic relationship and really negative aspect of his life. And, like, I was like, oh, he's growing up.
Yeah.
You know, like, that was great. And I loved the entire arc of when he left to start the Michael Scott Paper Company. Like, I just love that entire story arc. That was great.
Yeah.
The ending to that is superb. Just when they're in the conference room and he does like actual business techniques, proving he knows what he can do.
Yeah.
I really like that character, and unfortunately, the show took a massive nosedive once he left. But
it was hard.
I found like the last, like the Will Ferrell few episodes was a bit weird.
Yeah,
it was so weird.
He was like a completely different character in every episode.
I think that's kind of good though. I think if he tried to be the same as Michael Scott, or like tried to like replace Michael Scott, I think it wouldn't have worked. I think it was better that he was just something different.
But yeah, there's like, who are our favorite characters from The Office? You know, outside of Michael Scott.
So that is such a hard question. I love all of them so much.
I do love all of them. I love. I really love Creed.
Creed is amazing.
Creed is great. My favorite Creed moment is there's like two moments that I really love about Creed. It's in the episode where they're doing like that detective game thing, and he just turns up and he's like there's been a murder and you, sir, are a suspect. He's like, okay, I'll just settle in and I'll be right with you. And then he just like runs off and
books it. Yeah. I want to know the shit that Creed's done. Like, he has done some shit.
Yeah, like my other episode, I think it's in season 9. Yeah, it's in the final season. And it's the Halloween episode, and he's just got like blood splatter all over his face and on his shirt. And like the young Jim character is like
so good.
Is like, oh, I didn't know we dressed up for Halloween. And he's like, neither did I. And then he's just like in the interview, he's like, oh yeah, this was real convenient. Yeah.
One of my favorite Krieg moments is when he goes through his his late life crisis and dyes his hair black.
Yeah. And then he's
later
like,
in the episode, people are complaining that the printer's not working because there's no ink in it.
Yeah. We just use the fucking printer. God damn.
That's such a Creed thing. I also love when I wish they played into it a little bit more, but I would have loved to have seen a bit of Creed's blog or his Word document when Ryan sets up that Word document, and we don't even really get to see any of it. We just see Ryan just be like, yeah, even for the internet, it's a bit much.
The internet.
Yeah.
That was good. I like I really like Kevin, but I like Kevin in the earlier seasons.
When he was still kind of smart, kind of like...
Yeah, it's like Kevin became a caricature rather than like an interesting character. And he still had great moments. Like, don't get me wrong, even in the later seasons, he still had some great lines and some great moments, but it was very much a case they were playing way too much into the kind of like...
Hungry dumb man.
Yeah, they were playing way too much into that, and it kind of just had run its course by that point.
I think my favorite Kevin like bit was when he was using like less words.
Yeah,
that was probably the peak of Kevin for me.
Yeah, Kevin's a great one. Who else is there in the show? I mean, Jim and Pam. I mean,
obviously,
and Dwight, obviously, like the main
Dwight,
characters.
I think is my favorite character. I mean, obviously, it's it's like not super niche or whatever, but it doesn't matter. I just love him.
No, you've
no way around
love Jan's apprentice Hunter, or you're not a real fan.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about Dwight, and like he's very similar to Creed in a lot of ways, in the sense that like you really don't know a lot about Dwight's past or like what Dwight gets up to a lot of the time. Like you see snippets.
You just have to pick up on like clues through context and stuff.
Yeah, like he says a lot of weird shit throughout the entire show. In interviews, like he'll say things about his family that just make no fucking sense. And you're just left wondering, like, what the fuck is going on with this character?
Yeah.
But I really love his character, and my absolute favorite thing of the whole show is the dynamic between Jim and Shrew. That's like the best thing about the whole show.
Yeah.
You know, even like that relationship goes on its own character arc over 9
100%.
seasons.
I also love the relationship between Dwight and Pam. Like,
yeah,
they actually had some, like, you know, special, like, friendship connection more than just, like,
it's not just like
kind of thing. It was more of like a mutual, like, understanding, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do like that, like, by the best part about the show, and again, this is really from the show's heyday, because I feel like they kind of, as the show progressed, they stepped away from it a little bit, or like this particular aspect of the Jim and Dwight relationship just wasn't as good anymore. But the big thing of the show was the pranks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just always the cold opens where like Jim is pranking Dwight, and it always gets more and more ridiculous, or it's just silly. But like, I feel like the heyday for those was during that kind of like season 2 to 5 period. Like all the
100%.
great Jim and Dwight pranks
the best
that people
pranks
talk about are in those seasons. And then as the seasons progress, they just become lame, I think.
Yeah.
Like
although
there's still some good ones, but
the treasure hunt, like the treasure hunt one was so good.
Yeah, definitely. That was a good one.
One of my favorite pranks is actually it is one of the lame ones. Is when Dwight's doing the standing up desk exercise, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm never sitting down again." And Jim walks over to him, takes his wallet, takes the money, and tosses it on the ground, and just goes prank. And it's like, you know, it's not one of our best. And then Dwight's looking at him. It's like, it's because you just gotta grab it, right?
Yeah.
No, because you're sitting. No, I'm saying because you're sitting. You know I've got to do this, right? And Dwight just goes, I know. And then Jim just pushes him.
So
that is one of my favorite jokes.
I want to address Jim and Pam quickly. I like the whole character dynamic of Jim and Pam in the early seasons, because it's very much a, like, you know, will they, won't they kind of thing. But I think they're like best friends, but then there's that tension there, and the tension's very clearly with both of them. Like, it's not like I like that dynamic. And then and then Jim leaves, and then he comes back, and it's a bit awkward. But then you have like those seasons leading up to them actually getting together. And then once they get together, the dynamic doesn't change a lot. They're just together. But I feel like those characters became a little bit more boring as the seasons went on, because they kind of, you know, they get married and, you know, have kids and whatnot. But it's kind of like, well, that arc is done now. So they're just, you know, they're just there. And I'm going to contradict myself in a sec by saying, because I kind of was like, I want something to happen, but season 9 is too late to make something happen between those two. Let me just say that the whole plot, I was saying to Lewin before, the whole character, the drama that happens in season 9 is just so
that confused me.
Weird. Like, it just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and
that really confused me.
I'm just like, what the fuck? Why is this like a thing?
Why are they doing that now? Yeah.
That was just season 9 in general. I think it was just season 8 was fucking awful. And they'd kind of lost their heyday. You know,
well, it was basically once Michael left, you know, and even though I would even say like season 6 and 7 wasn't like the heyday of the show, but once Michael left, it was like, I think they were just trying to figure out what the fuck to do. It feels like you could take the character arcs of season 7 and then take those last few episodes from season 9, and instead of having that whole bit at the end with Will Ferrell, actually take the last couple of episodes of season 9 and put them at the end of season 7. You would have to change a few things, but like, the general concept of those last couple episodes, I feel like you could just put that at the end of season 7. You know, because the end game of The Office is Dwight becoming the manager. That's the end game, right? That's like what the show is building towards. Right. And he becomes the manager in season 7 for one episode, and then fucks it up by firing a gun, which is funny. it's funny, but also it's like, that's the end game of the show, so I get why they had to write him out of that position very quickly, but it also meant that we ended up with Andy as the manager for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess a season, because let's be honest, for the last season, he wasn't really manager, was he?
No.
And it was just like, you could literally cut the last 2 seasons of that show out and just take those last couple of episodes, chuck them into season 7. You'd have to do a few rewrites here and there, but you would have a much more satisfying final season, I think. You'd have Michael leave, Dwight takes over, and then, you could have it as the documentary crew were really following Michael, rather than just, the whole office as a whole. Michael was their case study.
It was
right?
the Michael show.
Yeah. I feel like season 7 would have been a good natural ending point, because by that point, Jim and Pam are married. They've got a kid. Dwight could become manager. Michael moves on and leaves. And then, that's it. I don't feel like there's any other character arcs that are necessary.
Yeah,
right.
Andy wouldn't be mutilated as a character.
Yeah, Andy would still be a good character. They absolutely ruined him as a character in the last couple of seasons. So, I don't know. But the best episode is the dinner party episode.
Yeah.
And you know what was weird, look up? I was watching that episode and I was like, I've seen this before. And I couldn't quite pin where I'd seen it before. And then I remembered that in one of our editing classes, Michelle showed us the entire episode as an example of comedic editing. And that's why I was like, I've seen this episode before, but I couldn't quite pin where it was. And then I remembered that, and I was like, oh my God.
I had the same feeling.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. But I think we should move on. What else have you been playing? What else have you been up to?
I haven't really diversified much with video games. I've been playing tabletop.
Oh, nice.
Some board games and stuff. Sea of Thieves, actually.
Interesting, because I played that for the first time this year. I did a stream back in January playing it.
Oh yeah, I remember
time.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I haven't played it since, but I do want to get back into it. I do want to play it.
Right.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've just been editing various things, trying to build a show reel. I've been making some TikToks just for fun. Yeah, not too much really.
Oh, that's good. What about you, Lou? What have you been up to lately? It's been like a month since we recorded our last episode.
So besides the usual of always working, I've been...
Aren't we all?
Yeah, it's pretty much life. Because Resident Evil 8 drops next month, I've been playing a lot of Resident Evil lately. I platinumed Resident Evil 5 with a friend last week.
Yeah, I saw you were playing that.
Nice.
Yep, we're working on Resident Evil 6 and we hope to have that done tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I'm working on Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 0. All in all, I'm gonna hate the franchise by the time 8 comes out.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat right now because I still haven't finished Revelations yet. So I'm gonna finish Revelations before Village comes out, and then I'm gonna play Village. But I've just been ever since I've been working on my Resident Evil 3 video, and all I want to do when I'm editing that video is just go and play Resident Evil 3 again. And I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I don't really like the Resident Evil franchise. I just like RE3. That's what I feel like, because every time I'm like, I could go play Revelations, I'm like, or I could just play Resident Evil 3. So I don't know. That's a bit of a meme. I was thinking of putting it out as a tweet, but then I was like, no. But I'm genuinely keen to play the rest of them. I do like the Resident Evil franchise. I just feel like Resident Evil 3 is my game. You know what I mean? It's
short, sweet, and fun.
Yeah, that's the one I love, and I love that version of Jill Valentine.
Yes.
Revelations Jill Valentine has the personality of a brick wall, so I'm not quite enjoying that very much. But I don't know what to do next because I'm planning on playing. Obviously, I'm going to play Village, and I'm excited to play that. I'm pretty keen, but I don't know what to do afterwards. Like, because I feel like, because like what games I have left to play is 4, 5, and 6. Even though I've played 5 before, but they're the games I need to play, and I also need to play Resident Evil Remake.
Yep.
As well. They're like the main games for me. Like playing those, and then there's also Revelations 2. They're like the main games that I want to play, and then after that I'll decide from there.
I would say
not sure which direction to go in, because I'm like, if I play Resident Evil 4, I want to kind of play Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 back to back.
I will say with 5 and 6, you're better off playing them with somebody else. 6 especially. 5 you can maybe play by yourself and have a good time. 6 you're gonna need to play with a friend or something, because fuck, sitting through 4 campaigns of that by yourself is torture.
Exactly. I think that's like the biggest reason why I'm like, I think Resident Evil 6 is going to be the last one I play. Like, it's going to be the absolute last thing I do, because it's like, I just, the idea of having to play all those campaigns, just, I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
But also, like, I'm thinking of playing Resident Evil 1. Simply because I'm like, I just want to play all the Jill Valentine games, because then once I've played all the Jill Valentine games, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to care anymore. I can just play them for whatever, because like Jill Valentine is my favorite character, and she's honestly the only character I actually care about. So I'm like I like Leon and Claire and Chris and all that, but I'm also sick of, like, even though I haven't played most of the games, I'm just very aware of how overused they are, and I'm just like, I just want to play Jill Valentine. Like, she's the only character I like. So I'm like, well, I'll rephrase that, sorry. She's the only character I love. Like, I like the other characters, but I love Jill Valentine. So I'm like, I'm really only interested in playing her games. And now I'm like, I should look up what other games she's in, like what other spin-off games she's in, and maybe play those as well, or whatever.
I think she's maybe in the Umbrella Chronicle game.
I think she is, yeah.
But I think that's about it. Jill's
Jill's
doesn't
just been
exist.
Forgotten about. Speaking of Resident Evil, I want to briefly talk about RE-verse just quickly.
Yes.
So that came out, the beta was recently. At the time of recording this, it was just last weekend. They've actually got another beta starting up today or tomorrow. So Resident Evil Reverse Lucca is the new multiplayer Resident Evil game that's going to be coming out alongside.
They like to package
Resident Evil
multiplayer
Village
versions in with.
I love multiplayer stuff.
Yeah, so last year they did Resident Evil Resistance with Resident Evil 3, and then this year they've got Reverse. And I'm going to save my thoughts on both of them because I'm going to do like a separate video talking about both multiplayers. But overall, Reverse is basically like it's essentially a deathmatch mode where you pick a Resident Evil character and you basically, in the beta you can only play at the RPD, but you basically like run around and you just shoot each other, you know. But what happens is when you die, you become like a biohazard monster, so you turn into
that sounds cool.
Yeah, so you turn into like one of the monsters from the franchise, and you got to collect these like little vials so you can turn into like, you know, big tyrants and whatnot. And then you just go around killing people as that, and then when you die as that, you die and then you respawn back as whatever character you picked. It's fine.
Sounds mad.
I guess I don't know what Lewin thinks of it, but like personally for me, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's incredibly unbalanced.
Yes.
There's only like 2 characters in that game that are worth playing, and then everyone else is just shit. I like it. It's fine, but I don't see myself playing it like I do Resistance. Like, I've been playing Resistance for like a year on and off, and I still love to play that game. Like, I've streamed it a couple of times, and I really enjoy playing that game. And Reverse just doesn't hold up against that at all.
Reverse is a really fun has a lot of fun concepts, just isn't executed all that well.
It's pretty shit. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you turn off the stupid ass comic book filter?
No, I turned that off straight away.
Good.
That's the first thing I did. I went into... okay, I forgot to do it, so I started the tutorial, and as soon as I saw the comic book filter, I turned it off because it looks disgusting.
It does.
But yeah, it's fine. Like, I'm interested to see, I guess... Like, I'll probably play a little bit of it, but I don't see myself playing it in, like, a year's time, like I did with Resistance. One thing the game seriously needs is some form of progression.
Yes.
Just anything.
It's really flat at the moment.
It's literally, there's zero progression in that game whatsoever. What I want to see is something similar to like with Overwatch, for example, you know, how you can have, you know, all the characters, like, because all the characters already have different abilities, right? But I feel like we need to have, because I know with Overwatch 2, they're going to have, like, customizable abilities. So you can, like, change what abilities you have, each of the characters have. And I feel like Reverse needs that. I think because Resistance has character builds. It's very basic, but it has character builds. You can unlock different abilities, different perks, and you can customize your character in that game. And I feel like Reverse needs that, because right now they have standard abilities, standard stats, which when you look at the stats, I don't know if you've looked at the actual stat bars, Lewin, but they make no sense.
I've not.
It feels like the stats have been random rather than actually stats that make sense. And this is why I feel like the game is so unbalanced, because there's a couple of characters you just get absolutely wrecked as, because there's clearly two characters in that game that are the best characters to use, and every other character is just pointless.
I've got nothing much to add. I like the concept of the getting the virus, upgrading to a bigger monster, killed. That's a fun little gameplay loop in itself, but it's very flat. It's
such a shallow game. But now, boys, I think we should move on to Justice League. And we should talk about the Snyder Cut. We'll start with some non-spoiler thoughts. So I want to hand it over to you guys and tell me what you thought of Justice League. Just
after you, Lewin, take it away.
Okay, so I did not watch the Justice League, as it's being called, the original cut. It was better than I thought it would be, but I'm not going to give it any praise, because quite honestly, it was 4 hours of mediocreness to me.
It's very much like what it is. It is full, and like I'll explain my thoughts on it, because I actually really liked this like a lot. But it is very much 4 hours of Zack Snyder indulgence. Like, it is very much him being like, I'm just gonna do literally every fucking thing, because fuck it, you know? Like, it's good. I quite enjoy it. What about you, Lucca?
I'm not gonna lie. I will... Okay, so I have seen the Justice League, and I have seen the Schnatty Cut. But both are, I find, bad. I will say the Snyder Cut was a bit better, but still pretty bad, in my opinion.
What are your thoughts on like, just, I guess, the Snyderverse as a whole? And when I say the Snyderverse, I don't mean like the larger DCEU. I just mean specifically Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League.
Not a huge fan, honestly.
Likewise.
Like, I have nothing against Zack Snyder. I just Schnatty. I don't like where the DC stuff is at the moment. It's just, all of it just is not there for me.
Just not having it.
No, it's just lacking soul or something.
I like all the spin-off movies, like they're not spin-offs because it's meant to be its own fucking universe, but I like Shazam, Wonder Woman. I still haven't seen Aquaman, and because I fucking hate Amber Heard, I don't think I ever will.
She also has an American accent in that instead of a British one.
Dear God. Mainly just Shazam and Wonder Woman I really enjoy.
I haven't seen Shazam yet.
Birds of Prey.
I actually like Shazam. I like Shazam. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, the ones, like, I've watched all the DC movies except for the new Wonder Woman and Aquaman and Shazam. I haven't seen those two yet.
I think Aquaman and Shazam are probably my two favorites.
Yeah, I do plan on
Funnily
watching Shazam eventually. But, like, for me, like, I'm like the opposite. Like, I'm not, like, I mean, I've said this before on the podcast, but, like, I like Man of Steel and BVS. I really enjoy those movies. There's a lot of flaws with those movies, and I'm not the biggest fan of Zack Snyder's, like, not, like, just his filmmaking style. He always has this, like, very, very desaturated look to his films that I just don't visually enjoy. And I also don't like his over-reliance on CGI and slow motion. And
God, the slow motion.
The slow motion in, like, half the fucking Zack Snyder, half the 4-hour one time is slow motion. Like, it makes sense when it's the Flash, because, you know, he is someone that runs.
The worst part was the majority of it wasn't the Flash.
But it was just slow motion for slow motion's sake. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. But, like, in terms of, like, where I'm at with the DCEU, like, especially those early films, like, I really enjoy Man of Steel a lot. I actually think that's probably, out of the three that he's done, it's probably his best one. I really enjoy, like, I think Henry Cavill as Superman is, like, he's fantastic. I wish he had some good writing, but he's fantastic in the role.
I do like the casting.
Oh, I like the casting all round in all of this. Like,
Same.
I think that it's a good cast. Even Gal Gadot, who's, like, okay as an actor at best, is still pretty decent.
Yeah.
And BVS I really enjoy a lot. And I enjoy the, like, kind of, like, the whole, like, social political element of it. The Jar of Piss is fucking stupid. And Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is just weird. It's just weird. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But the rest of the movie I quite enjoy. And the ultimate cut of that film is the only way to watch that film, because the film just doesn't make sense without it. But the problem with BVS, and my biggest beef with BVS, is the third act again. It's unnecessary. Like, I feel like... And also, by the way, BVS is, like, 3 movies too early. And Justice League is, like, 5 movies too early. Yep. Like... None of this stuff plays out. Like, it just happens. Because BVS isn't something you just do. Like, the whole point of Batman fighting Superman is that there is that relationship there. But in BVS, they don't have that relationship. And, like, while I'm fine with that creative decision personally, you know, it feels like that's something you should work towards.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, to me, it feels like they're always trying to take, like, shortcuts, all these movies, and, like, just rely too heavily on the comic book, like, knowledge of the fans to, like, help them through. But so many people don't have that. And, like, with you know, the MCU, they have really done, like, the hard work establishing everything again, even though, you know, it is already
also with the
existing
MCU,
knowledge.
A lot of the characters weren't, like, I mean, they were well known, but they weren't like Iron Man and Captain America and things like that. They didn't really have a big mainstream presence.
Yeah, exactly.
Until the MCU, right?
Yeah, they weren't Spider-Man.
Exactly. So, like, and here you've got Batman and Superman, who are,
the
regardless
two most
of
recognizable superheroes.
Yeah, regardless of Marvel and, like, I think the 3 most recognizable and most popular superheroes: Superman, Batman, Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I think they're the 3, and then everyone else just exists, right? And I feel like you've got those 2, and again, great casting. Like, I absolutely love Ben Affleck's Batman.
It's sad to say that he is one of the better parts of these films.
He is. He's genuinely, and a lot of people complain about, you know, obviously the fact that he's just fucking murdering people left, right, and center. But, like, after watching Justice League, there is a very clear character arc. Because originally the plan for this was Superman and Batman were originally meant to go on this character arc over the course of 5 films. It wasn't meant to be like they'd have, their own movies to develop the characters and whatever. It was meant to be a character arc over 5 films, but of course that didn't happen, right? And this is my biggest beef with Joss Whedon's cut of the film. And this is why I think Zack Snyder's like... So in Batman v Superman, he's just fucking murdering people, right? Like, he's in a pretty dark place, right?
Yeah.
But then in Justice League, he's like completely flip-flopped as a character, right? Like, he, and it's the same with like his attitude towards Superman. Like, his attitude towards Superman is completely different in Justice League than it is in Justice League, because it just flipped around. But he's also not killing people. Also, Batman looks ridiculous in Joss Whedon's film. And the reason why is because the suit that he wears is very clearly designed for the style of filmmaking that Zack Snyder does. Like, it's very clearly designed to be in, that desaturated, darker look.
Yeah.
Problem with Joss Whedon's film is he just turned up the saturation on fucking everything.
Yeah.
And it looks ridiculous. His suit looks so stupid in that film. But outside of the visual thing, like, that character arc just isn't there, where I feel like in Justice League, that's a natural continuation of his arc. And yeah, like, that's like the original plan. And I really kind of wish, like, because he did say, like, and you even see it set up here with Superman, that, like, they set up a character arc for him in Justice League that's obviously never going to play out. Zack Snyder's Justice League tonally and is a consistent film that fits with the other films, but it's also, like, it is more a lighthearted film. Like, it's not, like, dark and depressing like the first 2 films were. Like, it is a lighthearted film in a lot of ways. But, like, overall, like, I really liked Zack Snyder. So I'm, like, on the opposite camp of you guys. It's like The Last of Us all over again, except because The Last of Us, like, Jacob and Lewin both liked it, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
Right,
like,
right.
Where this, I'm like, I actually really enjoyed this movie a lot. But anyway, Justice League. But yeah, I think we should get into some spoilers.
Sweet.
Let's talk about structure and pacing. This is a 4-hour film.
Yep.
How do we feel about that?
It was 4 hours of fucking nothing to me.
Yeah, look, it was 4 hours that I wish I could get back.
Yeah.
But I will say the pacing was really good.
Yeah.
It is a very well-paced movie.
Yeah.
My only
I think
issue with is I'm not sure if this is a structure or a pacing thing. Throughout the entire movie, and I feel it makes it worse because it is 4 hours, I never once felt there was a climax.
And do you know why that is? Yeah, and do you know why that is? It's because that fucking epilogue. That epilogue just keeps the movie going after it's ended. Like, there is a climax to that film. The problem is that climax isn't the end of the film. It just keeps going.
I hit the final battle, and I was still like, oh, we're here. I didn't feel like we built up to it at all.
Yeah.
Wow, you shouldn't watch Justice League then, because let me tell you something about Justice League.
My friend told me it was about the same, if not worse, in the original.
Here's the thing: it smashes through the whole plot so quickly.
Yep.
Like, Justice League is 2 hours long. Because that was like a studio mandate. Like, it wasn't to go over 2 hours.
It kind of felt like a 2 hour long trailer.
Yeah, it went through it so quickly. Where this, at least, like, there's a natural progression to the plot.
Yeah.
Even though it is spread out over fucking, like, the actual, like, main plot is like 3 hours, really, because, like, the last battle is like what you build up towards, right? And so there's like 3 hours of build up.
At which
obviously
point it doesn't feel like build up anymore.
Yeah, you could cut. There's a lot of scenes throughout you could cut out. But I feel like what this film has in it that the other film doesn't have is you've got to introduce all these new characters, right? You've got Aquaman, you've got Cyborg, you've got Flash, who have never appeared before. So I think this film does a great, like, the first hour of this film is basically set up for the plot. Flash doesn't even appear until about an hour and a half into it, and I feel like that's where that first half of, like, it does a good job at setting up the characters, where Justice League just didn't do that at all.
Yeah.
They just didn't bother.
I agree with that.
Like, they
I still
literally
feel like
didn't bother setting up Cyborg as a character or even giving him a character in that film.
Yeah. That was definitely much better in this one, but I still feel like I just still don't care really about the characters that much.
Yeah.
Like, they had story, yes, but it wasn't strong. I just felt like, oh, okay, you're like doing this because, you know, you're angry that you got turned into a monster or whatever, but like, it doesn't seem I can't find a correlation in my emotional like status when watching that movie as to why they're doing the things they're doing.
Yeah.
See, this is what I mean by, like, these movies are just coming way too early. Like, you need to have films in between, you know, to build these things up.
It didn't help that the first hour was, you need to introduce the characters, and obviously that's why this turned out the way it did. But it was extremely choppy.
A lot of the first hour is more just focused on really Steppenwolf.
Like, whenever it starts focusing on the heroes, it starts going between city to city in like 15-20 minute intervals, and it feels like there's no connection at all, and it's like, what the fuck's happening?
Well, okay, so here's the thing, and so I did have like a full like page and a bit of notes on Justice League because I wanted to talk about like some of the changes. So one of the big changes with Justice League is that he literally cuts out an entire hour worth of plot by having Batman, or not really an hour of plot, but more like the entire setup for the film with the mother boxes, right? Like, Justice League sets the mother boxes up and like goes into depths. Do you know how Justice League does it, Lewin?
I do not.
I'll tell you how Justice League does it. So instead of having, you know, the mother boxes set up the way they are in this film, what happens is at the very start of the film, Batman is so there's a criminal, like a robber, trying to escape along a rooftop or some shit, and Batman turns up and fights him and then dangles him over the edge of the building because he wants to attract a parademon because they sense fear.
Okay.
So
Right.
the parademon comes, and then Batman like kicks him, like traps him on the wall, and the parademon self-destructs, and then when it like blows up, it leaves like this like residue on the wall, which is like this green goo, but then there's like these red bits that are the shape of the mother boxes, and that's how we set up the mother boxes in Justice League.
Wait, what?
Really fucking stupid.
I don't even remember that.
It's so stupid.
And I thought it was weird just having fucking Superman Scream do it.
Yeah, but see, that makes sense, because here's the thing, right? Because the big thing with the mother boxes is, and this is the big thing in this film, the reason why they need to bring Superman back is because the mother boxes weren't active, because basically it's set up that Earth, you know, the reason when Steppenwolf's there, Earth has no defenders. There's no Kryptonians or, you know, anyone powerful enough to take them on.
Yeah.
So that's like the whole reason why they need to bring Superman
Yeah.
back. But the thing is the mother boxes don't awaken the entire time they're there. And let's just ignore the fact that Superman's really only been there for a couple of decades. What about the hundreds of years prior to that they weren't active? But like,
Yeah.
the boxes don't awaken because Superman's there. All right, and they only awaken after he dies, right?
But
the
that
thing
what
is,
that meant?
The thing is what happened at the start is that's like the general concept. The reason why the mother boxes never woke up at any point was because Superman was there.
That's
There was a
fucking
Kryptonian.
stupid.
Wait, that's like the general concept. But that's exactly the whole thing that Justice League does, is they're just like, oh yeah, the mother box is just awoken because Superman died because they sensed Superman wasn't there. Where in Justice League, it's actually shown that it's that sonic scream from Superman as he's dying that awakens one of the mother boxes, and that's what causes Steppenwolf and his army to like come to Earth to sense it. That's kind of how, like, again, it's the big problem with all of these Zack Snyder films is like the concepts he's trying to get across aren't explained very well, but the reason why they need Superman is much better in this version than it is in Justice League, and I'll explain why in a bit. But
I just don't understand the mother boxes and like Steppenwolf and all that in general. Like, I don't know what the fuck they are, or like, you know.
Yeah. So basically,
it's just like this big baddie, and then there's this other bigger baddie. And I'm like, what? Like, I feel nothing. So I feel nothing. They're like, what are these?
It's basically the plot of Man of Steel again.
But, like,
yeah.
The thing
it's literally the
so
same
you're telling
plot.
me, okay, so you're telling me, fucking Darkseid, whoever came to fucking Earth, used this magic terraforming thing to try and destroy a planet. Oh, la-di-da, got defeated by a fucking fish.
I think you know. I know where you're going with this, but yeah, keep going.
So the boxes become dormant because, like I said, he got defeated by a fish, a human, and some lady. So that's great. They leave. They fuck off without the boxes. Are you telling me?
You're forgetting about Zeus. You're forgetting about the big gladiator-looking person that shoots lightning.
That was meant to be Zeus.
That is Zeus, yeah.
Fuck everything. They Steppenwolf and Darkseid, whoever I don't care at this point, leave.
Yeah.
You know,
Darkseid leaves.
Darkseid leaves.
Ares throws his axe at him, and it like hits him and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they leave Earth. Cool. Earth's protected. The boxes can be taken into hiding like 3 bits of a Dalek, and then
yeah, exactly.
Next thing you know, so you're telling me that for thousands of years.
Yep.
Darkseid,
before Superman got there.
Before Superman got there, Darkseid conveniently forgot where Earth was.
This is why, when I said I know where you're going with this, that's the point, because that was the big criticism I was going to bring up, because I'm like, that just makes no sense. Why would Darkseid just forget because also remember when he was there, he also learnt that that's the world that has the anti-life equation, right?
Yeah.
Why
you
did
would think
how
that
did
would
he
be
forget
noteworthy,
that?
right? But so that's a thing.
Write this shit down, man.
Make a note.
He
Take
needs
a
a notepad.
picture.
You're meant to
and-
be the boss.
You know, get a little stick-it note and just stick it on his
People
little
are
throne.
relying on you.
He can just stick it on his throne on Apocalypse and just write on it Earth anti-life equation and just like stick it on the throne. It could be like a pink like post-it note.
Yeah, just a pink
it
love
right there.
heart-shaped sticky note.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way they make these boxes sound, it sounds like these 3 mother boxes are one in a kind, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you're telling me, did he just have to siege worlds the hard way? Or did he just fucking give up for centuries?
Well, so he see, this is the thing I'm confused about. And by the way, in Joss Whedon's Justice League, and I'm going to keep bringing this up. I'm going to keep bringing up the other film to compare them. But in Joss Whedon's Justice League, it was never Darkseid that came to Earth. It was Steppenwolf, because Steppenwolf is the big bad of... Like, Steppenwolf in Justice League mentions Darkseid once, but, like, the big key difference with Steppenwolf in this film versus the original is we learn more about why Steppenwolf is doing what he's doing, where in the original film, he's just like, oh yeah, I'm just doing it. And he also keeps calling the mother boxes mother. Like, addressing the mother boxes as mother, and he keeps doing that. It's very weird in Justice League.
That is a bit weird.
He doesn't do it at all in this version. Like, they just got rid of that.
Explain to me, again, just so I'm very clear, why they want the mother boxes? Like, what is their whole thing? What is the whole brand plan?
They have the mother boxes anyway. So in the original backstory, they already had the mother boxes, and what they did... now, I don't understand the reasoning for why they do this, but like Darkseid's big thing is he's searching for the anti-life equation, but that's from what I can get, that's a separate thing to why he's conquering worlds at the same time. But originally they had the mother boxes, and what the mother boxes do is when they're linked, they terraform and turn the planet into another apocalypse, basically, right? And then they lose the mother boxes, and this comes back to what Lou was saying. How does he just forget where he lost the mother boxes? But the mother boxes are meant to be this all-powerful, like, terraforming machine, living machine.
Yeah.
That, you know, like, that what he does. But what Darkseid's searching for is the anti-life equation, which, by the way, this film does not set up what that is at all.
Yeah.
Comes back to what you were saying. You kind of need to know the comics to understand what that is.
Yeah.
But essentially, if you understand what that is, like, that's a pretty big deal. Like, the anti-life equation, because that makes Darkseid the most powerful being in the multiverse. Like, not just in that universe. Like, he's literally the most powerful being. Right?
Okay, see, I guess for me, like, it's not so much like the plot, like, you know, systems and stuff that are going on with all of these devices and stuff. I think for me, it's more like the lack of, like, relatability to all this shit that's happening. Like, yes,
like, why?
To me, it's just like, okay, there is evil forces gonna fuck up the planet. That's bad. That's good enough for me, for the Justice League to rise up and fight back, you know? But I think they're trying to, like, make it seem more like there's, like, these human, like, ideals and stuff, evil, like, ideals behind these characters. And I think there's, like, this halfway point that they're falling in here where it doesn't quite work either way. And I feel like they should have either gone all in on, like, one way, or just gone all in on, like, a lifeless, just evil, doesn't really fucking matter, gonna destroy the planet kind of thing.
Like, I feel like with it's not like with Thanos where, like, you understand his motivation.
See, that works for me because, like, you can really understand what he's talking about and, like, why he's doing it. They literally spent
a whole film, like, in Infinity War, Thanos is the main character, right? Like, it's none of the Avengers. None of the Avengers are... I mean, look, I don't really like Infinity War compared to Endgame, but, like, what that film does well is the setup. It sets up Thanos as this character. We learn everything about him and why he's doing it. This film, obviously, like, you know, like, they're trying to... Like, obviously, Darkseid is the Thanos of... you know, this kind of universe, this story, but they don't because this film is focused on Steppenwolf and not Darkseid, they don't really set up Darkseid as a character. He's just there. Steppenwolf's character arc is different in this compared to, like, Steppenwolf actually has a character arc for one. I don't think it's a very good one, but he has one. Where, like,
honestly, I think I would have enjoyed it more if Steppenwolf had have been just the main guy and that Darkseid wasn't even in the picture. Darkseid was kind of just like an external, like, influence that you never see or hear. Yeah, I feel like that would have worked better for me.
Like, he has a presence, but kind of like Thanos. Like, he has a presence in the universe, but you don't really see him for a long time. Like, but he's just this presence that you hear about and whatnot.
It took 9 years to get to Thanos.
Exactly, yeah. Like, with Darkseid, like, with the Justice League version, Steppenwolf is the bad guy. Like, he's just conquering Earth. He mentions Darkseid at one point, which is something I completely forgot about, but they basically took out all the Darkseid stuff.
But like, because for me, like, Darkseid as a character just holds no gravity whatsoever. Like, I don't feel anything when he's, like, talking or whatever. I'm just like, what?
I remember this was also, like, okay, because there's been obviously several different versions of what Justice League was meant to be, right? Like, the original plan was for it to be, I think the original plan was for it to be 3 films, because Zack Snyder has been saying in, like, interviews leading up that basically the plan was the first film is about bringing together the Justice League, and, you know, it's about setting up the threat and whatnot. The second film was going to be Darkseid coming to Earth and the Justice League lose, which kind of happens in this film as well, but, like, they come and they lose. That's why the whole nightmare sequence has been, you know, we keep seeing that, because that was going to happen. And then the third film was going to be most of the Justice League are dead. We're in the nightmare world. It's similar to, like, you know how, like, Doctor Strange is like, you know, there's all these different timelines and only one of them we win. It was going to be a similar sort of thing, like, but Flash would have to keep going. Like, that's why we see Flash in BVS turn up and say Lois is the key, because basically what was going to happen is that second film, which, to be honest, doesn't make sense now after I've seen this first film, because it seems to me like the moment the entire, like, the events are set in motion that Bruce witnesses in the future plays out at the moment they revive Superman, because the AI on the ship is like shows Cyborg the future, like a vision of what the future is, and when they do it, the AI is like, this action is irreversible. Like, we can't do anything about this. Like, and then once Superman's resurrected, the computer is like, I can't remember exactly what the computer says, but the computer says something like the timeline has been set in motion, or the future, something like the future is now set in the present, or whatever.
Right.
So I feel like the whole Lois is the key thing. Like, I feel like Lois is the key, is the whole thing of
it's
why
kind of redundant now.
Is why Superman goes bad in the future. It's like, but also in this film, Superman is clearly the reason why he goes bad in the future is under the influence of Darkseid, which Zack does say that the plot of the third film would have been about, you know, Superman would have been the villain, like our bad guy, and then they would have had to like get him out of the influence of Darkseid because they need him to defeat Darkseid or whatever. But like, there's just some contradicting information. Like, I feel like, because they made it out like in BVS, like the whole nightmare future revolves around Lois and Lois dying, where I feel like it's actually resurrecting Superman. But then also at the same time, it's like, well, they need Superman to stop Steppenwolf. So what if they didn't resurrect Superman? Would we have just ended up in the nightmare's future anyway? I'm a little confused by all of that.
It's too difficult to like put all this together in my head in a way that I can actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like
it's too difficult to put it all together in one film.
Yeah, I can't be bothered putting in the effort to actually enjoy it.
And here's the thing, like, so the original plan was 3 films. Then the actual version of the film that Zack Snyder was making before Joss Whedon took over was a different version of what he wanted to do, because the studio were kind of, you know, reining him in a bit. You know, they're like, you know, we want this to be X amount of length, you know, and it went from being 3 movies to being 1 movie. And so the version of the film we have now is still not the version of the film that he was making, or the version of the film that he was planning.
Look, if he makes
like
another
this
film,
weird...
I'm not fucking watching it.
Well, here's the thing. Like, Zack Snyder has said that he's done. Like, he's not making anymore.
Yeah,
like
please just, if he makes a movie, just please go make a new movie of your own.
He said, like, the plan was originally to do this, and then, you know, obviously, you know, his daughter tragically, you know, you know, he obviously stepped away from the project, and then obviously the studio then came in, and Joss Whedon came in and really just botched that thing. And, you know, like, the Snyder Cut is different to what this film is. Like, this isn't the Snyder Cut. This is Zack Snyder making what his original vision was, but it's not going to be completed, right?
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like, here's an analogy. They had a pancake mix, right? That Snyder started making, and then he had to leave the kitchen, and someone else finished making the pancake mix and made the pancakes, and they're kind of very mediocre pancakes.
Yeah.
And then Zack Snyder had to come back and make pancakes with that same botched pancake mix, but he made the pancakes a bit better, but still, it's, you know, the pancake mix is the problem.
Well, here's the thing, like, and it's the reason, I don't know if either of you have seen Chris Stuckman's review, but he uses the phrase, I'm on the side of the filmmaker. And I think it's great that Zack got to come back and make the film that he wanted to make. You know,
yeah, for sure.
No interference, you know, nothing else. Just he's like, I'm making this. This is it. This is what I want to make. And he has since stated that, like, because there's a lot of talk over, like, well, you know, why don't we just finish this story, but like do it as like a HBO Max miniseries or whatever. And personally, I would like to see it, because I really, the story started, like, let's just finish it. Let's just get it done and move on. But like Zack has said that, you know, like, he's done. He's not making anymore. This is even if they want him to, he's not doing it. And I think it's probably because Justice League, also because of the whole personal tragedy thing. It's probably such a, I feel like him releasing this film is him being like, okay, I've got this and I can move on now. You know, I don't, like, there's such a personal story to this film.
Honestly, I'm surprised he came back at all, considering how fresh that still would be for him. Like,
well, yeah, it was like
big loss.
It was 2017, early 2017, and he said actually recently that he was still working on the the Justice League film for about 2 months after it happened.
Jesus.
Because he was trying to like just distract himself and like focus on that.
Crazy.
But then he got to the point where he just like he had to leave, like he had to just walk away. So like I'm glad that he's got to release his thing, you know. Now
I'm happy and respect that he managed to do this.
Yeah.
I may not like the product personally.
Yeah.
From an objective standpoint, yeah.
I respect that he even did this at all. For the people who did want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still annoyed after seeing this that we aren't getting a Ben Affleck solo Batman film, because the sheer concept of that film was fucking amazing, and I would have loved to have seen that. Because the whole Deathstroke scene in this is meant to set up that film, right? Like in the original Justice League, it's a post-credit scene. Deathstroke turns up. There's like that little bit of dialogue between him and Lex Luthor, but there's no like Bruce Wayne reveal. It's just the reason why Deathstroke is there is because they did a reshoot with Jesse Eisenberg, and you can tell it's a reshoot because they have this really close-up angle of his face rather than the wide shot they have of him sitting on the thing. And he's just like, oh, I'm thinking of forming a league of our own. And that's why he summoned Deathstroke, which is just weird. Where in this, it makes sense. It's like, okay, so they're setting up because they actually shot that scene when Joe Manganiello was in London doing the test footage for the Batman movie. This was back when Ben Affleck was directing it. And so they were doing the test footage at the same time as they were shooting Justice League. And so they decided to do like a little post-credit, like a little, what was originally meant to be a post-credit teaser to set up that film.
Right, that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, and that film would have been amazing. Like, apparently it was going to have, like, it was going to be this really big, like, personal, like, psychological film of, like, the whole film would have been Deathstroke just tearing apart Bruce Wayne's life.
Right.
You know, like, he would have been just murdering, Bruce's, like, I guess, loved ones, like, or, like, just people that he's close with. It would have been, we would have seen a lot of Batman's rogues gallery throughout the film, but it was basically going to be this, like, revenge story of Deathstroke getting revenge on Batman, and we were going to learn, like, a lot about why Deathstroke wants to do that, and it was going to be this, like, really psychological film.
Yeah, it does sound cool.
Yeah, I got to the end of the movie, in Justice League, that scene shows up, and you're under the assumption, oh, this is it. This is the end of the movie. And I told my friend, went, that's a good fucking hook for the next movie.
Yeah.
That actually makes me interested in the future. And then it cuts to the epilogue. And I've never been more pissed.
Well, here's the thing, like, because that was originally meant to be, like, because in Joss Whedon's version, that is a post-credit scene, and it was meant to be a post-credit scene. Like, the film was meant to end with, like, that monologue from Cyborg's father and, like, the little montage of all the heroes, which, for some reason, Superman still has the black suit. Don't know why, but considering in the comics his black suit is meant to be a healing suit, where in this it's just a suit that he picks for some reason. But, like, that was meant to be the end of the film, and then you would get that post-credit scene. And that's how Joss Whedon's Justice League ends, but then they changed the context of the post-credit scene to make it about Lex Luthor forming his own little team, rather than it being, like, that hook for the Batman.
Because I was really excited for that. I was like...
That's a good setup.
That's a good setup.
And I would love to see Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke. Yeah. Like, holy shit. Missed opportunity from this whole thing.
Honestly, yes.
Like... I mean, I would like to see the rest of these Justice League stories. That's fine. But, like, Ben Affleck as Batman in his own film with Deathstroke as the villain...
There's definitely untapped potential there.
That would have been so good. From Justice League, are there any, like, standout moments? Like, moments
Justice
that were,
League?
Like, that's
or the Snyder
cool.
Cut?
Yeah.
It's all so, like... It's all such a plateau for me. Like, there's no real spikes or dips per se. Do
you know what I like? Any moment where Batman is just being Batman.
Yeah.
He's like, he's just sitting up on a ledge.
He was such a support character in the film.
I love the moment where they're raiding Star Labs, and the first shot we see is just Batman on the ledge of this like construction, and he's just there. I'm like, oh, that's so Batman. Actually, my favorite Batman moment is actually when he meets with Commissioner Gordon on the rooftop. Like that shot of Commissioner Gordon standing there. Also, that's another crime. That's another crime. Commissioner Gordon. Could you imagine J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon in a solo?
He does make a good Commissioner Gordon.
He's not Gary Oldman, but I did like him.
What a crime. The whole Batman thing is just a crime. It just is. But like he's standing there and you see like the tarp like fly in the wind and he's just there, and you see like the lightning in the background, and I'm like, oh, that is so Batman. Like, that is the type of shit I want. Just give me Batman.
Just give more of that. Yeah.
I will say like because the entire third act of this film is completely different to Joss Whedon's version. But one moment I did like is the Flash moment at the end.
When he's running back time to get to the mother box. That is my favorite moment of the film.
That is such a great film, and the fact that wasn't pretty cool in the original at all.
Yeah,
when it's
because that's like pretty significant. Like that power is like OP as shit.
Yeah. And they set that power up, by the way, twice in the film. They set it up in the opening Flash scene where he saves Iris West. They actually do set that up then. It's a bit more subtle, but they set it up. But then there's the bit where he resurrects Superman, where he does say that, like, you know, when he runs the speed of light, weird things start happening to time. And we actually see it in that film, like, he's too late, but as he speeds up, you know, you see the mother box just go up slightly. So that film sets it up. So it makes sense at the end of the film that he has this power. But that's such a cool moment. And do you know what happens in the original Justice League, Lewin?
No.
I'll tell you Flash's involvement in the final scene. So instead of being the hero, instead of being the one to save the day, instead he's relegated to... Can you go off and... Okay, because in the original cut...
Isn't there like it's not an abandoned place, it's a city, and he's relegated to fucking collateral damage support?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, it's still like this toxic waste area, but there's like people living there. And both him and Superman, like Superman comes in and fucking wrecks. Like in both films, the moment Superman shows up, it's over. You know what I mean? Like it's just, he just wrecks. And I will say one thing I do like about all of these Zack Snyder films is you really get the feel of Superman's power.
Yeah,
when
I think that
punches
probably
someone,
is the thing I enjoy the most, is seeing Superman just fucking beast people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, but when he punches someone, you see that, like, sonic, like boom every time he hits someone. Like, it's just, and he's wrecking Steppenwolf.
You feel the impact.
With so much power. Like, it's insane. And like, that's, like,
that is
one
very satisfying.
bit when they lose and the mother box, like, blows up and starts the terraforming process, it just atomizes Superman. So, like, I mean, if you can imagine if it atomizes Superman, imagine how powerful those things actually are.
Yeah.
But, like, it's insane. Like, I love it. But anyway, in the original film, Flash is relegated. That for some reason, Joss Whedon decided to keep cutting to this Russian family throughout the film for some reason. And so it's like this little family that are in this area. And throughout the film, there's like random moments where you'll have a scene with them, and Joss Whedon keeps cutting to them for some reason. And anyway, so the end of the film, the Flash is relegated to saving people, and like his whole involvement is him saving this family. Like, the mother boxes are doing their thing, and it's like destroying the whole area. So this family's trying to escape in a ute. So the Flash gets behind and pushes the ute at super speed. And then he saves this one family, and then it cuts to this shot of Superman carrying an entire apartment complex, and he's just like smiling at Flash, like, haha, you know, like it's meant to be like a funny moment, right? Man, what a crime. I can't believe they sidelined Flash so much in that original film, because here he's not really involved in the battle itself, but what he's doing is important. Like, he has to keep running to build up the speed.
Yeah.
And he has that big hero moment. I can't believe that's not in the original cut at all. Like, why would you cut that out? Like, that's a big character moment. You know?
Just point out, I know they had a personal relationship thing going on. It was really fucking creepy earlier in the film when he slowed down time during the car crash, which let's not get onto the fucking Burger Man. And he goes and touches her hair and pats her face and puts it on. I'm like, that's fucking creepy.
That did weird me out a little bit. Like, I thought that there was already pre-existing, like, history with them for a moment. I was like, wait, is this someone I'm meant to, like, know? Like, but then I was like...
Yeah, it's meant to be Iris West.
I didn't get that sensible.
That they haven't met before then in the movie, though, right?
Well, here's the thing, like, it's very unclear as to whether they actually have that pre-existing relationship or as if this is the first time they meet each other. It's fucking weird. I do like the bit, though, like, it's actually interesting. There's a lot of, like, because Flash is obviously the comedic relief of this film. And it's just weird saying that Zack Snyder has comedic relief in any of his films. I feel like that's what Jesse Eisenberg was meant to be, but it just doesn't work. I feel like it works with the Flash, like it works. The problem is with Joss Whedon.
I don't know. It still feels super corny.
It is.
Like a lot of the comedy just comes off so corny.
But at least we don't have like a big long monologue about how he doesn't understand what brunch is, like we did in the Joss Whedon version.
Right.
Like, Joss Whedon's version, they really played up Flash. Like, you know the bit where they first encounter Steppenwolf, in, like, that, like, first big battle with Steppenwolf, where they're saving, it's, like, in underneath the Gotham Harbor or whatever?
Oh, yeah, yep.
So, in this film, they, like, actually come up with a plan, and they approach it, and Cyborg attacks first because he sees his father's in danger or whatever. And then what Flash does throughout this sequence is he helps save people, he helps do all this. In the Joss Whedon cut, we have this little cutaway scene between Batman and Flash where Flash is like, I can't do this. You know, like, I don't really get involved in fights. I don't really do things. I just push people and run away. And then Batman's like, just save one person. And then he does. He saves one person and he kind of gets a bit of confidence. Yeah. In this, he's not a little bitch. He just goes in and does the job. You know, for some reason, Flash is a little bitch in Joss Whedon's version. I don't understand why. But also the character... One thing I want to talk about with Joss Whedon's version is the character dynamic between Aquaman and Cyborg is completely different. In this version, like, Aquaman's a bit of a dick at first, but then once he understands what Cyborg has been through, like, there's that respect there. Like, there's that scene where he's like... You know, like, he shouldn't be doing this. Like, his father's just died, blah, 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 blah. And then Flash is like, I thought you didn't care. And he's like, I never said that. In the original film, it's just Aquaman being a dick to Cyborg the entire film for some reason.
Yeah, for no apparent reason.
He has his own personal choir when he goes back into the lake for whatever fucking reason that was. I'm not the only one who found it weird, right, though? I just need to confirm this. When he goes back into the lake with Bruce watching, and there's like fucking 9 people singing.
Oh, they're all singing? Yeah, no, that's weird.
That was weird, right?
He's
that
like a deity.
So
He's
weird.
like a deity to them or something.
And I feel, that's actually one of the things that Joss Whedon cut that I'm like, yeah, probably.
I mean, I think they're probably just like, you know, they're just frothing him. They're just a bit horny.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the epilogue. The bit of the film that just doesn't need to be. It's like 20 minutes long.
Is it actually?
It's ridiculously long because it's just scene after scene after scene. And then for some reason they just keep going and we have the nightmare sequence, which is then followed by another scene where Ben Affleck is clearly 5 years older and he's talking with Martian Manhunter for some reason. So the only real part of this I want to talk about is the nightmare sequence.
Because the only part before that I gave a shit about was Batman's joke or comment about buying the bank out of the...
Yeah, he bought bank.
That's the only part I actually cared about.
That was a good joke.
I don't give a shit about Flash's stupid dad sub-story. I don't give a shit.
Do you know they're recasting his father for the Flashpoint movie?
That's really fucking awkward.
The big thing I want to just address is the fact that Clark Kent is wearing his trench coat and like suit and everything as if he's working at the Daily Planet when he's dead. How you can't explain? Like, you can explain Superman coming back, right?
You can't explain
Like, he's
Clark
Superman.
coming back.
You can't explain Clark Kent coming back. Like, he comes back. He can't work at the Daily Planet. He's fucking dead.
I was on extended leave. I never offered you that.
Also, we were at your funeral, so you know, it's a bit weird that he's got that. Like, I get they wanted to do the fucking, you know, hero shot of him ripping his fucking thing, and we see the Superman, which is the black suit for some reason. It's silly. Anyway, that's not the part I want. I want to talk about the nightmare sequence for a bit.
Yeah.
Overall, the sequence has absolutely no place being in this movie whatsoever.
Nope.
I did like it as its own little thing. It's very obvious that this was shot 5 years later because Ben Affleck doesn't actually fit the mold of the cowl. Did you notice that?
I did not.
It's like
hilarious.
throughout all the films where he's been Batman, like the cowl, like the whole bit around his mouth is perfectly like matched up to his face.
Yeah.
But in this scene, you can just see like this. It kept bugging me every time you saw a close up. There's this little gap between where his skin is and where the cowl is, and you're just looking at it. And you're like, "Fucking hell!" I find it weird that Amber Heard was brought back. That's a bit of an odd choice, considering.
They're very determined not to get rid of her.
Yeah.
And she also has the British accent, which is
Yeah.
yeah. So because what happened with Justice League is they actually dubbed over all of her lines with her doing an American accent.
No way.
I think that's probably because they changed her accent for Aquaman, so they wanted to have that like continuity. Where Zack Snyder's vision for the character was that she was going to have that British accent.
Why do they make these decisions?
Which I think actually works better, to be honest, than her American accent. Even though I think she is American,
yeah.
I feel like the character works better with that British accent. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So we've got, what do we got? We got Cyborg, Mira, Batman, Deathstroke.
The part that pissed me off the most.
The Flash is there, but the Flash is also very clearly not Ezra Miller. And it's a different it's a different person with a CGI face.
Oh, really?
I did not notice that.
I did not notice that either.
It's probably why he has no lines of dialogue or does anything in the scene. He just turns up and you see his helmet open up, and they're just like, well, we don't have... I think Ezra Miller couldn't return. It's the same with Superman. Like, that bit where Superman drops down at the end is actually just a shot taken from BVS.
Oh, okay.
And they just changed the background. It's because Henry Cavill, because of COVID, he wasn't actually able to travel to do reshoots.
Right.
Building his PC.
But yeah, and then the Joker's there.
So I like to call this Jared Leto's. This is Jared Leto's like final clutch play to be the Joker.
Look, I'm gonna say one thing. I do like the writing of his Joker here. It's still the same performance, albeit very toned the fuck down.
I don't know about the performance. It was so all over the place.
Oh yeah, but it's not like
bad.
It's not like over the top like Suicide Squad is. Like, you know what I mean?
Honestly, I preferred the Suicide Squad performance.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, I think like go eccentric and like crazy. Yeah, like the low key Joker just does not work. Like, it seemed like he just did not know what the fuck he was doing in any given moment. He was just like, saying the lines randomly.
His dialogue's a lot better though.
What the words he was actually saying were, I guess, okay. Yeah.
Well, the thing is like that actual interaction between Batman and him is actually a very Batman Joker interaction. Like, it's this very like philosophical kind of, you know,
moralistic.
Yeah, like it's very like this philosophical look at these characters and their relationship. Now it's irrelevant because we've never seen that relationship at all. But like it is a very like it's a type of conversation you can easily hear Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill giving. Right. Like it's the same conversation. Right. Like that whole bit where, you know, like Mira's like, you know, when have you ever loved anyone or whatever, and then the Joker's just like, you know, has that like weird little laugh, and then he's like, you know, what does he say? Like, he says, like, oh, if you think, he's never lost anyone, he's like a mother, a father, an adoptive son. And, it's a very Joker Batman interaction where the Joker is like just trying to push Batman's buttons a little bit.
The problem is I feel like he is just not intimidating at all.
No.
Oh no, he's not intimidating, but like
he just seems like a fucking like crackhead on the street. Like,
I'm specifically talking about the dialogue here. I'm not talking about what's actually happening on screen.
Right.
But there's that one line I really love. It's the bit where he gives Batman the card, and he's like, for as long as you have this card, there's a truce between us. I hate the pun. I hate that he's like, there's a truce, Bruce. I'm like, fuck off. But like I like that bit, but then I like the bit he says afterwards, where he's like, for as long as you have that card, there's truce, and when you're ready to end it or whatever he says, you just tear up the card, and we can have a conversation about how you sent a boy wonder to do a man's job. And I was like, that's such a great line. I kind of wish it was like a Mark Hamill line and not a Jared Leto line.
Yeah.
But that's like,
since when does the Joker like? Since when is he like trustworthy and like go and like abides by like a pact or whatever?
When it comes to Batman, Joker usually actually is. It's very strange. Those two have a mutual respect for each other that doesn't really push boundaries. Anyone who's not Bruce is fair game.
Right.
But the relationship between Batman
I guess
and
because
Joker
he knows that Batman's more of a equal to him. It's kind of like part of the game, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it's like in The Killing Joke, where there's that moment where Batman and Joker are like, I think it's Batman that says a joke or something, and like Joker finds it very funny, and then they're both laughing together. It's like that relationship is a relationship built on this mutual respect for each other. But it's also something they play on a lot because, without Batman, there isn't any Joker, but without the Joker, there isn't any Batman. They complement each other, and that's why they never kill each other.
It's the classic rivalry.
It's just, they're just constantly testing each other and pushing each other. And that's what I like about that little interaction, because, it is a very Joker-Batman thing. It's Joker pushing Batman's buttons. Like, a lot of what Joker does is trying to mess with Batman just to see what he does, right? Like, the Joker doesn't want to kill Batman in The Dark Knight, He
just wants to fuck with him.
And The Dark Knight is, like, Christopher Nolan is someone who really got that Joker-Batman relationship and what it means.
100%.
And like it's like purely from a dialogue standpoint, that is here. Like it's a really great interaction. Obviously, it's just let down by the fact that
just
it's Jared Leto's Jared
Leto. Yeah.
I'm so glad this entire time you've been saying it's the dialogue, because for the weeks leading up to this, finally watching this movie, people were going, "Oh, it fixed Jared Leto's Joker. It gave him a chance."
No, it doesn't.
And
it's
then
still
I
the same
watched
Joker.
And I was like, "Great! Now he's got long hair and he still can't fucking act. Well done."
I'm not 100% on board with the bit where Batman's like, "And make no mistake, I will fucking kill you." I feel like that line was added in there just so Zack could get an F-bomb in there, get Batman to say the F word. It's very much like, I mean, I guess this is like the darkest timeline, so I guess I could see, Batman being like very like, because he's very serious when he says that. He's like, I am
Shit's
going
getting
to
real.
Like,
I will do it.
When he dropped the F-bomb, it sounds so awkward, like he was a kid testing out the worst word for the first time.
Yes.
It's so out of place.
It was.
Yeah.
Batman and Joker in Justice League don't have a relationship. We're told they have a relationship. We see,
but it's all
something
like prior to
shown.
BVS. And,
exactly.
Like, this is what I mean. Like, this is what I'm talking about. It's in the dialogue. Like, if this was dialogue delivered, like, let's say the situation's exactly the same. They're in a nightmare world, but it's like dialogue between Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, you know, and that's like a version of the Joker-Batman relationship that's been set up so many years, right? Like, there's so much history there. If it was them two delivering this dialogue, it would hit so differently.
Oh, yeah, hearing Kevin Conroy.
I don't know. I still just don't see, like, a Batman giving a death threat ever working, really, with the Joker.
It doesn't, and I agree
No,
with
but
you there.
this is what I mean. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, if the context was the same, if this was, like, the nightmare world, the darkest timeline, but it was still that relationship that had that build-up, it would hit more. But the problem here is there is no relationship between these two characters. There's... Llewellyn said that we're told there's a relationship, but we don't ever see it. We don't see it, and therefore nothing of what they're saying to each other has any weight whatsoever. Like, it does to the characters, but not to us, right? Like, we don't care because we haven't seen it. It is what it is. I still really enjoyed the scene for what it was.
I felt it just went on for too long.
It goes on for too long. And I will give you that. It goes on for way too long.
Yeah. I was scraping the bottom of the popcorn bowl. It's not good.
And then Martian Manhunter, which, okay.
Look, I get why Zack put him in there, but also at the same time, like,
that
why?
That scene would have been far better had Martian Manhunter not shown up in that weird-ass Lois scene earlier in the film.
And that was a carryover from the original version, because I think he wanted, in that first part, we were going to see him as Martian Manhunter, and then we were going to see, you know, it was meant to be confirmation that this character that was in the previous two films is Martian Manhunter, because Zack's always said that that's what he was, and there was also storyboards of this particular scene, and just things like that. But yeah, in this particular version, it just is weird that you have that at the beginning of the film, and then you have the Martian Manhunter at the end. Like, if you're going to add that scene at the end, why have that scene at the middle of the film? So, like, I get what you're saying. I'm glad this exists, and, like, for me, I enjoy this film a lot, and I would definitely watch it again, but, like, I'm just glad that, you know, the people... Well, okay, here's the problem, though. You know how we were hearing about release the Snyder Cut for years and all that? That's just been replaced. Like, everyone's like, oh, you know, at least it can be over now. It's out, it's done. But now it's just been replaced by Restore the Snyderverse, and that's all you ever hear about on Twitter now.
There's always something else.
I'm just like, fuck. I thought we were going to escape this. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess not. But yeah, I had a good time with this. I don't know. There's not really anything I want to say about it, really.
Yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything, really.
Yeah, and we didn't even really talk about the whole film. We just kind of talked about bits of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm happy with that. Anything else? Any other final thoughts you guys may or may not have?
I appreciate that the actor who played Miles Dyson in Terminator 2 has died twice in a laboratory where he built a weird robot thing.
That's cool. Do you know what's funny is that that whole bit isn't in Justice League at all. Like, none of it's in there. Instead, in Justice League, Steppenwolf just turns up, takes the box, and fucks off. And his father survives till the end of the movie. Like, they literally got that actor in to reshoot one shot for the end of the Joss Whedon version of the film where he's reconnecting with his son. One thing I will say, I do appreciate in this film, we actually see Cyborg's powers. Like, we see what he can do. Even if it is, even if it is this weird visual, metaphorical way, like, we actually see.
I guess that would be hard to depict in film.
Like, I get it, and I like it. In Justice League, he doesn't really do anything. He just has powers, and it's like not explained who he is as a character, what he can do, nothing. At least this film devotes a large chunk to actually showing us Cyborg's powers.
I like that we see his powers. I do have to say, I fucking hate his design.
Oh yeah, the design's terrible.
Yeah.
It just looks fucking awful.
So
it's just, it looks weird too because it's mostly a CGI suit. Whenever he moves his head, the CGI parts on his face, I don't know what it is. It just looks weird. It doesn't look like it quite ever lines up properly. Like, it looks fine in, like, a close-up shot where he's not really moving his head much. But, like, when he moves his head really quickly, it just looks weird. My favourite Cyborg suit is the Smallville Cyborg suit, because he just doesn't have a suit. It doesn't have any kind of outfit. They're just like, nah, we're on a budget. He just looks like a human. And the cybernetic parts are underneath.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea, you know? It works.
Yeah.
Well, what happens with that is in Smallville... he has like this little socket in his arm, so when he's like jacking into shit, he can plug stuff into that socket, and then his eye turns red.
Is this the guy that when he gets like shot, he's got like black, like oil that comes out instead of blood?
I think so.
Yeah, that's one of the vague things I remember about Smallville.
Fuck, Smallville was a great show, man. That's actually my favorite version of the Superman mythos.
Right.
I love it so much. Probably because I grew up with it. That show is very much a product of its time. Like, you go watch the early episodes of Smallville, and it's very much early 2000s. Early 2000s cringe. But I love it just the same. But yeah, anyway, that's Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Snyder Cut. And I think that brings us to the end of the episode.
I can put this movie behind me and never think about it again.
Yeah, well, it's over now. And just, you know... I like how Ben Affleck's gone on his own little character arc over the past few years. You know, he went from being super into being Batman, and then BVS came out, and then he was like, I just don't give a shit about this at all. But to be fair, he was going through a divorce at the time, and he was going through a lot of shit. Like, I mean, you can see it in just the original Justice League. You can see the reshoot scenes versus the original scenes, because you could just see Ben Affleck get chubby all of a sudden.
Right.
He's like chubby in one scene,
just
and then
doesn't give a fuck.
You look at the other scene and he's back to being ripped again.
Just depression.
Yeah. But he's gone on this whole character arc where he's like, you know, he the whole Batman project fell through, BVS happened, Justice League was a shit show, and he's just like, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to do it. And then now he's kind of come back around on it. He's like, you know what? Like, I would like to still be Batman, and I would, you know, and so he came back for Justice League, and obviously he's coming back for the Flash film as well, alongside Michael Keaton. So, like, he's gone on his own little character arc, which I do enjoy. I would like to see more of him, and there's literally no reason why we can't have two versions of Batman at the same time.
I don't see why not.
Like, I don't see any reason why we can't have Ben Affleck come back for one more film.
Yeah.
And then we still have Robert Pattinson.
There were two doctors at the same time?
Exactly. And also, in the Flash film, we're also going to have Michael Keaton's Batman as well. So it's like... There's a rumor going around that Michael Keaton's going to replace Ben Affleck as, like, the main Batman. And I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's just a one-off, like, he's coming back for this Flashpoint film, and that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's it for Justice League. We can all move on in life now. Next episode is going to be... We're going to be talking some Star Wars again.
Hey.
We're going to be doing our Star Wars Day special, which we haven't quite figured out yet, but it will be... we will rewatch Solo and talk about that. Solo, a Star Wars story. And I don't know, we'll do something else for Star Wars Day. But that'll be coming to you on May the 4th. So look out for that. And we won't be talking about Bad Batch because it releases on the same day. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, as always, if you did enjoy this, then make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you're on podcast platforms, you can now, with Google and Apple, you can leave a review. So if you do enjoy it, you know, leave a positive rating, leave a review. It really helps the show out. And I have nothing else to say. All the social medias and everything are in the links below. I'll put Lucca's Twitch channel and whatever in the description below as well.
Thank you.
And when are you normally stream, Lucca? Are you streaming again soon? Are you going back to it?
I plan on streaming again soon, but I have no schedule, so it's kind of just like whenever. It's usually in the afternoon, you know, into the night. Yeah.
Do you have any kind of like place where you update, like a Twitter or anything like that?
I do have a Discord. You know, it's a little all over the place. I'm not gonna lie, but I do. What I'll do is
whatever you want for me to link below, let me know, and I'll link it below.
Okay, sweet.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
And as usual, Lewin doesn't have anything to plug or link.
How
But that's
very
fine.
assumptuous of you. You're right, I don't.
Luke, God, I'm getting everyone confused because we all have L names. Lewin is just here for the podcast, just hangs out, does his bit, and does his own little thing on the side. You know, he just does whatever. He's a wild card, Lewin.
What more could you want?
Exactly, he just does whatever the fuck he wants, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, I do have, if by the time the video version of this is out, my Resident Evil video should be out. But if not, and the video version of this comes out first, it'll be out very soon. I'm planning on uploading it next week at the time we record this, so that should be out soon, hopefully. So keep an eye out for that. And I'll probably start streaming again come May. I'm just a bit too busy for it at the moment, but yeah, that's all I have to plug. Lewin, take us out. Also, but before you do, actually, thanks, Lucca, for joining us in this Justice League discussion.
Thanks so much for having me. That was very enjoyable. It was good.
Yeah, even though we're talking about a shit film.
No, it's fun. I love sharing opinions.
Thank you everybody so much for listening and watching a audio video. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, good.
We're doing good.
Well. I don't know if you can tell, Lucca, but we are professionals.
Yeah, highly.
I'm very trained in this. We'll catch you all on the flip side next month on Star Wars Day. That should be fun. Hope everybody has a good time.
It will definitely be on Star Wars Day. Oh, speaking of Star Wars Day, I'll be uploading the video version at the exact same time as the audio, so it's not going to be like a week apart. It'll be both at the same time.
We're speed running next month.
Speed running. That's right. Anyway, all right, that'll do. Thanks, guys.
Peace,
Have a good
y'all.
one. Bye.